Your Majesty, King Misizulu, Kazwelithini, Nendlovukazi, Your Majesty, King Mswati III, Nendlovukazi, and kings from a number of other countries who have graced this occasion. Former President Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma, ministers and deputy ministers who are here present, the Premier of our province and MECs, the leadership of the governing party here in KwaZulu-Natal, the African National Congress, the Speaker of eThekwini Municipality, who is standing in for the Mayor. And let me say all protocol observed because it is quite late. Today has been a day of celebration, and tonight we continue that celebration, a celebration of an epoch moment. And maybe as we reflect on what happened today, we should also be asking ourselves what is the significance of what we witnessed today. Is there any significance? Is there anything that we can bank in our memory? Is there anything we can take away and remember for many days, many years to come? I'd like to believe that apart from this being a great day of celebration, it is a day that had many wonderful aspects. It was in many ways a day of uniting not only the Zulu nation, but uniting the people of South Africa. Our people were glued on their TV screens through the length and the breadth of the country, and they had their ears plugged into all radio stations that were reporting and recording this very significant event. So for today, our nation got united, and we say thank you to His Majesty the King, King Misizulu Kazwelithini, for having helped to unite not only today the Zulu nation, but South Africa as a whole. This was also a day of renewal. It was a day of renewal, but we want it to continue to be a days and years of renewal. And indeed, it will be days and years of renewal. For as I said in my initial speech at the stadium, that we wish that His Majesty's reign should be a long reign. And I say this advisedly because many of us, and I speak for the majority, will never see such a day again in our lifetime. This happens once in one's lifetime. It last happened in 1972, 50 years ago. I was whispering to King Mswati III, who's sitting next to me, and he said King Sobhuza was on the throne for 61 years. So those who saw King Sobhuza's coronation would not have lived to see King Mswati III's coronation. So this event is historic in enormous proportions, because we will never see something like this, many of us. But it is also that renewal aspect that is important. And this day for me also holds out the promise, a very big and positive promise of uniting the Zulu Royal House, which is our collective wish, that through what happened today, it will make all and sundry in the Zulu Royal House now confirm that indeed His Majesty King Misizulu Kazwelithini is not only King of the Zulus, we see him as our king, a king of the people of South Africa as well. The other aspect which was most significant for me was that this was a day of displaying not only our Zulu culture or our Zulu traditions, and underline my usage of the word our, because I believe that many of us count ourselves as being part of this wonderful culture, this wonderful tradition that we saw on display today. But it was also showcasing our South African cultural diversity, its depth and its richness. It was in full display, colorful, beautiful, impactful, and just very, very nice. And that is what happened today. But it was also a day where we were proud. Your Majesty, what happened today filled many of us as South Africans with a great deal of pride. That here is something that those who chose to colonize our country, those who tried, who sought to destroy our culture, our languages, our traditions, failed, because today we showed them how proud we are of who we are. Yes, as a Zulu nation, yes, as South Africans. Today we were proud, and thank you very much for making us proud. Today was also significant in consolidating the symbiotic relationship between the Zulu and the Swati nations. And this was not only because, Your Majesty, that King Mswati III is your uncle. It was also showing exactly the cultural diversity and beauty between the Zulu nation and the Swati nation, which was also on display at the stadium. And we thank you for doing that for us as well. It was also a historic day in continental terms. You were able, Your Majesty, to bring to our shores, to bring to our country, to bring to KwaZulu-Natal royalty from other countries on our African continent, from as far afield as Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, and a number of other countries that were represented here. So we thank you for placing our country, our cultures, our traditions, and the Zulu nation on the African continental map. That was just wonderful. Thank you. For me, it also gave me an insight of the type of monarch that His Majesty King Misizulu Kazwelithini is. I got an insight, not that I didn't expect it, but I got a great insight in what you said, and firmly believed that you were confirming what a number of us have always known. You showed us that you are a developmental type of monarch, in that you would like to deal with issues that affect our people, issues that have to do with the problems that our people are grappling with: inequality, poverty, as well as unemployment. And that is what we expect from our monarchs, that they will be developmental in their approach and thinking, and they will seek to do things that will advance the interests of our people. I also got an insight in your determination to get involved in gender-based violence issues. As we, this coming week, will be holding the second Gender-Based Violence Summit, I will be able to inform them that King Misizulu Kazwelithini, the King of the Zulu nation, has taken up the issue of gender-based violence and femicide as one of the issues that he is going to campaign around, bring about influence amongst men, so that we get the men of our country to stop abusing the women of our nation, killing the women of our nation. And thank you very much for showing us that that is what you're going to do and what you stand for. I also got an insight, Your Majesty, into one of the key attributes that many of us expect of our monarchs: that you will approach matters that deal with your kingship with care and compassion for our people, just like your own father did, King Zwelithini, that you'll be walking in his footsteps. But because you stand on his shoulders, you will be able to see much further. You'll be able to extend the vision that he had. And I believe I'm not mistaken in that observation of you. I'd like to thank you, Your Majesty, for demonstrating your willingness and your determination to work with government. Government at all its levels, at local level, at provincial level, and at national level. I am already beginning to experience that in my various exchanges with you, but I certainly have seen you at work with our Premier, and indeed, I do believe that you'll be doing so also at local level. You are approachable, which is what we, your subjects, appreciate in a monarch. And thank you for having that approachable disposition. You are not a king that we will be afraid to approach or tremble and fear in your presence. We see you as a monarch who will be amongst the people and who will work with our people. You are an internationalist, and that is why you've been able to attract so many of your ilk, so many other royal people to come and be part of this celebration. Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that a great future lies ahead with King Mrs. Zulu, Kazwelithini, on the Zulu nation's throne. And I'd like to say, let us all give him the support. Let us all stand behind him. Let us all stand with him. And I make a call also to the Zulu royal family. This is the time for us to rally around this king, because already we can see that the attributes that he has and the recognition that he was given today is the type that we should embrace, accept, so that the Zulu nation and indeed South Africa can move ahead. Thank you very much for this. Largely for me, apart from being here and having done the work that one did in recognizing the king and giving him his certificate, it has been a privilege at a personal level to be so well exposed to Zulu culture and tradition. I have delved quite a bit in Zulu history, and this I was also helped, by the way, by having been Deputy President to Ubaba Nxamalala, who always regaled a number of us with Zulu history, and I have learned and continue to learn a lot about Zulu history. So it's been a personal privilege. I'd like to end by saying, when former President Jacob Zuma, whom I'm sitting next to, came in, I said to him, "Ay, waba mhle kangaka, kwenze njani?" Ngathi ngaba mhlawumbe ukuthi kuguga othandayo ngoba usabukeka umuhle kakhulu, and he still looks quite good looking for a man who's 80 years. Nxamalala qhubeka ukhule. Ngiyabonga.
I'm drifting away into the darkness.
Mengameli siyabonga ngamazwi